Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Shay, for having us here today. We are from Signum Bank, Remo and I. We're going to split the presentation. I'm going to talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and he's going to talk about how we do it. But I guess I don't really need to preach to this choir. Like, why do we need account recovery, right? All of us struggle with self-custody to some extent. I mean, it's a complex topic in and of itself, but especially now in a bull market when everyone's asset portfolios are hopefully doing very, very well, you start to be a little bit more worried about it. If your plane, God forbid, crashed on the way home from this conference, would your husband, wife, kids all be spoken for? Would they be okay? Would there be some way that they can be looked after by your portfolio that's hopefully sitting somewhere in a nice self-custody setup? And the fact is that even the most technical users, even most of you in this room, still also need some kind of disaster protection. And this is something that, like Vitalik has talked about a lot, he's blogged about it, and it's one of those kind of problems in the crypto space that just hasn't been quite solved. And the reason for that, I mean, there are a couple of players that have talked about it, tried to do some version of it, but you really want to have maybe more institutions in the space. So you have like your family and friends, like my husband gets a yearly tutorial on OPSEC on how to like recover my assets should something happen to me. I have multi-sig setup of my own portfolio, but there is an important role that institutions also need to play. And with all the ETH that's been lost, even the stories that we hear regularly that pass around on crypto Twitter, that regardless of how good your OPSEC is, I think there's always this tiny fail-safe possibility that we need to protect against. And once you kind of have that, then you maybe have a little bit more of adoption from people who might not be as technical as you guys, but also for institutions to enter the space, also for maybe more Web 2 players to be more comfortable to enter the space. So, first, I've been talking a lot. Who is Sygnum? Maybe just a quick show of hands if you know who we are. Maybe 15%. So I'll give a really quick introduction. Sygnum is actually the world's first digital asset bank. So we were founded in Switzerland and Singapore with dual heritage. And we worked a lot with the regulators in our jurisdictions to kind of come to a place where they can understand how crypto can be regulated using existing rule sets. So in 2019, in Switzerland, we acquired a banking and securities license. So this is the same as like, HSBC or UBS or anyone like that. But we focus completely on crypto. So we don't take on a single client that doesn't have a crypto exposure or interest or something like this. We're a broker. You can transfer and trade your assets, move between fiat on and off. We obviously are an institutional-grade custodian and classic IBANs for fiat currencies for when you need to pay your rent, pay your salaries, anything like this. There's actually a solution for crypto companies and crypto individuals that we're so happy to provide. So today, we have over 4 billion in assets under, we don't say custody so much, we say under administration because it's quite a wide spectrum of where the assets sit. With clients all over the world, we do pretty much everywhere except America, because everyone knows why. And we work also with a lot of different banks as their technical backend for them to serve crypto to their clients. So they don't need to build all of this internally themselves. They can simply white label our stack. We're based in Switzerland and Singapore, as I mentioned, but we also are now in Luxembourg and in the UAE. And I think it's important for just 1 second to pause on why a bank is a different player in this space than your typical financial institution. And we saw this a lot in 2022 with FTX and 3 Hours and all of these, where when there was, when shit hit the fan, there was no recourse for the people who had their assets with these institutions. So even though those are quite easy to set up, the thing of working with a full-blown bank is that you have no counterparty risk. So should something go terribly wrong, should there be some kind of bankruptcy proceeding or something like this, all your crypto assets are always safe, and your keys are simply returned to you. But We're at SafeCon, and we're talking about self-custody. And so how does Sygnum support Web3 recovery? That's the real question here. At the core, of course, you have to have an identification. I know that this is not everyone's favorite topic, but at the beginning, you come out, you identify yourself, you register for Web3 recovery, you deploy the module, and then let's say the worst case scenario happens, there's some kind of loss event. You trigger a recovery through the bank, and someone from the bank, someone based in Switzerland from our compliance team or our product team, usually both, depending on the size of the vault, would come in to re-identify you, make sure you are who you say you are, so there's no chance for any actors to enter the ecosystem, swap your keys out, and we have some safeguards in place, like a buffer period, but Remo will talk more about that, and then you have access, you regain access back to your safe account. And now you do this, of course, with how many ever signers you have associated with a specific account. So if it's a 2 of 3 setup, it obviously makes sense for 2 of these people to be linked to be set up inside the recovery module. And that means that you're just fundamentally protected by your identity. There's no way that it can be misused. And you continue to have full control of your assets. Why should you work with Sygnum for this? It's because, like I said, there are a couple of players that are doing something similar, but here you're actually working with a Swiss bank. And I think having a trusted institution like that in the space to support you with this kind of disaster recovery, that's something we've been missing. And now we're here with it. And over to you, Remo. Ah.
Be careful. Thank you a lot. Perfect. Yeah, thank you. We already hear from Aliya that we're building a recovery solution, and our goal was actually to keep the self-custody nature of Gnosis safe. You don't want to back up your key or something like that. You still should own your assets and in a non-custodial fashion. Here, what we did is, when you have a look on the smart contract level, we built a recovery module, actually, which you can plug on your safe account. If you have a look on the left side, access loss case, we have a safe account with 2 out of 2 signatures. We have Alice and Charlie, which are connected with the recovery module. They're verified, identified, and the recovery module is connected to your safe account. Now imagine that Charlie loses its key for whatever reasons, lose his phone or whatever. They actually lose access to their assets, to the safe account, because it was a 2 out of 2 setup. If you have on the right side access regained, Charlie would reach out to us. We would initiate a swap event, like he will provide a new wallet and say replace the old one with the new one. We will obviously do like a lot of checks to making sure that this person is really Charlie. If this is the case, we trigger the swap. The swap does not get executed instantly. There's a buffer, a delay. And during this buffer period, which could be a couple of days, actually the safe account can stop the swap in case they don't trust us or say it's not a legal recovery. If it's okay, then this day passes, and after the recovery can be executed, the wallet swaps, basically. Very simple, and they regain access to it. We can have briefly a look on how we have integrated it into the safe dashboard, actually. For us, it was important that this is combined into your existing safe. It's fully embedded in your safe dashboard and part of the safe account recovery hub. How does the application looks like, or the app looks like? It's part of an app, of Gnosis Safe app. You can actually start that, see a landing page, launch the app. A bit slow, but then you launch the app, going there to the dashboard where you have all the overview. You're the first time here, you connect, basically the same, like connect your wallet. We skip this part just quickly, and then you start to set up the recovery. You give some basic information, select a plan, there are different plans, and check out if a crypto payment. We also skip a bit here, some parts, and the payment was successful. You're going back, and we're asking you to identify. We start a KYC. We're also providing some basic information, and we'll do some video check as well here in our step afterwards, which we actually also briefly skip. After you do the activation, you basically confirm to deploy the recovery model. to add it to your safe account, and this is a transaction which you execute on your safe account. You have the model and as well the connection of the module to your existing safe account, which you approve in the normal fashion of safe. After all that done, you're actually protected. We can briefly check that it's also deployed. If you just go on the safe settings, there you see the models actually. In the models tab, there will be added, yes, here, the recovery module. And if you just check on Scan, just quickly, it was just deployed actually a minute ago, as it was really just added right now. That's all. Yeah, it's part of the Safe Recovery Hub and fully integrated in the Safe dashboard. I already mentioned it's important for us to keep the safe custodial nature, and we actually believe it should stay like that. We want to offer service for custody world, but also for the non-custodial world, if people decide to manage the key by themselves. But regardless of that, the security should always be there. You should never lose actually the access to your assets. And with this recovery model, we actually follow these 3 principles. You own your key. There's no backup, there's no key sharing, nothing. You only add a simple recovery model to your safe account, which is very restrictive. There's no other functionality than recovery actions. We don't have privilege to your assets or something like that. We don't want to have that. And then you also control the recovery. There's a veto power. If there's a swap executed, you can always interrupt, and you have always the chance to disconnect that. This makes sure there's no chance that we can take over control. There's no chance that we can be declared as custodian of your safe account. You stay self-custodian. The application itself is actually at the moment in early access mode and not fully publicly available, but nevertheless, you can actually scan this QR code on top right to join the early access if you want to, or at the bottom, join the waitlist for public launch, which will happen in a few weeks from here. It will be a simple form, just provide your email and we contact you and are happy to provide you further details about the solution. And we hope that you will never lose actually your assets and that we can keep non-custodial wallets safe and protect from that angle. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Check. Yeah. Sorry, we wanted to check if there was anyone who had any questions for us and our safe recovery modules. Yes.
Hi. So if one of my keys is lost and then the other, say someone stole it and has access to my key, can they interrupt the swap process?
That's a very good question, actually. Thanks a lot. No, they cannot interrupt. To interrupt, you can actually only when you control the threshold number of keys, meaning you interrupt with your safe account. That actually avoids this case that, for instance, if you have a swap event and you have another owner and the owner always blocks the swap, then you basically are in a blocked mode. This will not happen. It's the safe account itself which interrupts the swap. Meaning if you always have all the keys, you can actually then the normal threshold transaction to stop it.
Anyone else? Cool. Then thank you guys.
Thank you a lot.